right. What's up, everybody? Aaron the Dog here with a very special guest for the Fight Bananas breakdown today for UFC 258. We're here with Fight of the Month winner, Fight of the Year contender, as I said when I had him on the last time. Mike, Beast Boy Davis, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. So recovering, feeling good.
Yep. Just had a little hand surgery for those who haven't, been following Mike, but easy, not too much, just princess waves. Just rotate the whole cast. There we go. But yeah, we're all hoping for a quick recovery here, and we'll see you really as soon as you are ready. But in the meantime, you got a little extra time maybe to check out some fights, do some research with me. I have the honor to have another killer on with me, man, to talk some fights, have some personal experience with the main event. It's just like we got some comments from Nico Suave here complimenting the drip here from Mr. Mike. He likes the hat. Mike.
Oh, thanks.
He likes the hat. I don't think he's talking about my hat I wear every week. But we try to just bring a little edge here to the breakdown show. I always put my time in with the tape, but to get people who've actually been in there doing the damn thing, winning Fight of the Month honors, Mike Davis versus Miles Jones or Mason Jones, whatever his name is, it doesn't really matter. Just look up Mike Davis on Fight Pass and enjoy. He's been in there with the guy in the main event. He's walked the walk on 5 days' notice with Gilbert Burns, and we won't talk about that fight too much other than that. But when we get to that fight, you'll definitely have something to say about that. But thank you everybody for joining us. Got some good numbers in here, and I know why. We were talking about having Mr. Davis on, and I had a lot of people hitting me up wanting the link. So I'm really excited to talk some fights with you tonight, man. And we got Coffee and KOs in the house. Always got their fight recaps on Fight Bananas after the fights. I join them every single fight. So you're always welcome on there too, Mike. If you ever are able to stay up late and join us, we always will welcome you. But
it's hard for me.
I get it, man. I get it.
I get there early.
Yeah, either way, like maybe when they get back over to England, we got those afternoon cards. But we're here for 258. It's on Saturday. Starts at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fight Pass. Is the early prelims for the first 3. So it's back on Fight Pass here. So people have gotten used to ESPN Plus a little bit. It's going on to ESPN Plus at 8. So 6:30 to 8 for the first 3 fights, including obviously everybody here at Fight Bananas knows Savage Robertson is our girl. It's the Savage Bananas, Savage Week. So make sure to tune in to Fight Pass for her fight, which is the opener, which we're going to get into right here. A flyweight prospect fight between 2 young fighters, 25 and 23. Jillian is the older fighter here. For the first time, I think, in her UFC career. She came into the UFC at 21 years old, got an armbar finish to start off, and has 5 finishes, which is a flyweight record. This is her 10th UFC flyweight fight, which is a UFC flyweight record.
Not that much?
Yeah, she's fought this much, and she's on the opener. So, maybe they want to get it off to an exciting start, but she's going up against, absolute prospect for sure, and Miranda Maverick, who is 8-2. She had a first-round finish, kind of Liana Jojua in her debut. I agree with Dave here. The prelims are fire. We had a fire prelim last month with Mike. So of course we bring the fire top to bottom. But thanks for joining us, Dave. Miranda, she looked pretty good in that fight. She definitely has improved her striking, and it is a civil war here on Fight Bananas because Coffee and KOs are a Miranda Maverick podcast, and I have no secrets here as the host of the Savage Sessions that this is a Jillian Robertson Savage podcast here, so we'll figure out our wager offhand here, Coffee and KOs, but either way, I respect both ladies. The interesting thing about this fight is that we know with Jillian what she's going in there and what she needs, what she wants to do, what she's going to do. It's to grapple, get on top. She has top 5 all time in the UFC ground top control percentage time, over 60%.
That's going to play a big factor in this fight because I don't think Maverick can strike very well.
Yeah, and I think after her last fight, this is the interesting thing I find is that Maverick is now really describing herself as kind of a Muay Thai striker. She was getting caught quite a bit by Liana Jojua, and she was a minus 420 favorite in that fight. Miranda Maverick was, so she was supposed to go in there and walk through her. It was a cut that stopped the fight, and Maverick has shown susceptibility to takedowns against Pearl Gonzalez, against
times, yeah.
against Deanna Bennett. She lost to Deanna Bennett, and then the second fight, she was down 2-0 before she got the third round finish against Deanna Bennett. Yeah. And that was in 2019. And now all of a sudden, we fast forward one finish and one fight for Jillian, where she struggled with the strength of Talia Santos. But Talia Santos didn't really land a whole lot of damage, but she was able to kind of hold her there. She did land an elbow to open up a cut on Jillian's nose early in the fight. And I'll give you more breakdown room here after this fight, but this is the one that I have a lot invested in, and I've definitely researched, and I have my thoughts. And
go ahead.
And all of this added together, Jillian having 5 finishes in the flyweight division, which is a UFC flyweight record, 6 wins overall. She's faced a really healthy competition. She's the underdog in this fight against Miranda Maverick, who has 10 total MMA fights. I think it's really, really interesting. She fought 3 times in one night with Invicta, the Phoenix series, where it is 2 rounds only, no elbows, and she got to fight Victoria Leonardo and Liz Tracy. So again, neither one of these girls are Jillian. Needless to say, I have Jillian in this fight, and I do think her jiu-jitsu is worlds above Miranda. It is where Miranda has to hope for a strength advantage, I think, in my opinion, and to kind of follow the Talia Santos model, maybe hold her up against the cage. And also, whoever has top control here, whoever gets to the top first, I think really does have the advantage in this fight. I think it's a key, but I
didn't see Maverick shoot at all. She always just got taken down and then kind of entered the grappling game.
Yeah, and I just think against Jillian's not getting swept.
Yeah,
in those situations. And on the feet, I think that Jillian defensively has gotten a lot better, and offensively, she continues to improve that. But I don't think that it's a striking affair she needs to get into to win this fight. I think she knows where it needs to happen. It's in the apex. We got the smaller octagon as opposed to the Fight Island octagon. So I got Jillian here, and I think that her as a dog is pretty crazy. And some of the chatter from MMA fans gets ridiculous, and very short-term memories here. And so I think we have another case of that. I got Jillian, and I got her by a round 2 submission.
Okay.
So
I'll probably go with that.
Yeah. So we do agree on this first fight. I did not warn Mike before this. You got to pick. It is all, our own picks here, as we will see as we go on, because in this next fight, I think we may have a disagreement, and this is a really good fight. It is, but we both got Savage. What up, Eddie? Good to see you. Just here chilling with, Mike Davis, UFC fight night winner. No big deal. It's weird how used to this I've gotten in such a short amount of time talking to killers all the time. But I just try to, focus forward on the fights and keep going here. Gabriel Green versus Philip Rowe at welterweight in this fight. This is a interesting fight. Philip Rowe, Island Fight veteran, so definitely some of the Fight Bananas family definitely is well aware of Philip Rowe. Also came off the Contender Series in his last fight.
Pretty good.
He looked good against Leon Shabazian. But I'm just I have to see a little bit more Philip Rowe. There's some concerns I have about the level of competition he's had leading up to this fight here. Gabriel Green is a very veteran opponent. I'll wait to kind of give my prediction yet, but what are your thoughts on this matchup overall?
I think that it's been he fought in August. Phil fought in August of 2019. Man, that's a year and a half ago. He's had time to improve, and I've seen Phil. We've trained together back in December. It wasn't even that far. Grapple together, strike together, and he's definitely come a long way. Especially, I mean, I would pride myself in my striking, and he definitely is one of the people that give me a harder time.
Okay.
With the 80-inch reach, he has what, like 80 and a half or so, something like that, inch reach.
Yeah, it's absurd. It's John Jones numbers almost.
With that year and a half time off, he's learned to use that reach. He's gotten a lot better. He's been strength training. He's been working on his striking, his grappling a lot.
Yeah. I have seen Phil in a few grappling events, including with Mike Rhodes. He had a grappling event where I think it was somewhat clear that Mike Rhodes clearly had the advantage in grappling, but I think Philip was doing that to throw himself into an uncomfortable competitive environment to get better, which I think is a huge positive. But so you got Philip Rowe and this fight, and you're thinking by decision, or do you think a finish for Phil? Is that kind of hard to say?
I'm going to say Phil connects with his reach.
Okay.
Somewhere in the second round when Gabe gets tired.
Yeah, I mean, Gabe has shown some issues with strikers with longer reaches. Jalen Turner put him away back in the day. Daniel Rodriguez was able to definitely use his reach, which was the difference in that fight. It was on short notice for Gabriel Green, of course, but Gabriel Green has a 73-inch reach, so it's it's definitely a significant, especially for a guy who wants to get on the inside and strike.
Yeah, I've seen him fight. He's definitely an inside fighter. He's a lot of power. Every single punch is meant to hurt, but that he's going to tire him out. And if Phil can use his movement, use his range, he's not going to be able to do anything. So I feel like that Phil will prevail in that, using his movement, using his range.
Yeah, man. And I mean, for you to be giving me that little information from December is really, really useful as well. We got our little, David, I like to start the night with a double dog parlay, and we got a double dog parlay now because you made me a believer in Philip Rowe. Philip Rowe is the underdog in this fight, which I was surprised about before the fight.
He is the underdog. You're both.
And then I did some research and talked with some people, and I was slightly leaning green, but I've got to go back to Rowe here. I'm rowing my boat. I like the cardio advantage and the reach to make the difference as this fight and get a late second or third round KO.
He's a different fighter from a year and a half. It's a year and a half. You know how much better you can get in a year and a half?
I was curious. So that it's just so hard for me with so many of these fights. We're seeing these really long layoffs where we're seeing a year and a half, 2 years layoff.
It was my fight. When I fought, I was off for a year. I've been off for a year and some months, maybe 3 months.
Would you say more often than not that amount of time is beneficial to increasing your skill when you're at this level?
It is beneficial to increase your skill level because you're not. I mean, that's all you're doing is improving yourself. You're not testing it yet, so you're learning more and more and more. But
right. That's great. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is really interesting because the first two fights, Jillian originally opened as a plus 160 underdog, which is ridiculous. She's down to a plus 110. So the smart MMA money is coming in on the 10-fight UFC veteran with finishes and who, has been on similar grappling circuits to Miranda as well. So they've been around each other. They've been circling each other. And they're both young. And then Phil Rowe, he opened as a plus 130 underdog. He's now almost even at plus 105. So, again, the MMA money is coming in on Rowe. It's not always where the trends are going are the correct picks, but in general, you want to go with the smart money on the MMA picks, especially in these closer matchups. And both are coming in on the dogs here, and that is a very decent parlay right to start your night if you wanted. So we're going to move on to the next fight. That was some really good info there from Mike Davis, though, that, you wouldn't have gotten from me. I'm not training with Philip Rowe ever, especially not in December. I was not training with Philip Rowe, not even on UFC 4. He's on the game. Next fight, and that's my dog Chico, so I'm just going to apologize for the barking, but it's part of the Aaron the dog experience here. Chico, chill. Next fight here is at 145, and then Cosmo's right here. I'm going to calm him down, and that's between Ricky Simone and Brian Kelleher. This is the third time this fight's being booked, and it's being at 145. both these guys are bantamweights.
I think Brian Kelleher is like one of those people whose record doesn't display his technique, like his level.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Kelleher is 22-11.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you go back and you look at who he's lost to, particularly since he's been in the UFC. It's Marlon Chito Vera. It's John Lineker, who used to definitely be a killer. Montel Jackson, who is a very challenging matchup for, I think, anybody. Was an Olympic wrestling candidate before they got rid of wrestling. And then Cody Stamann was his last loss, which, again, none of those, there's any shame in any of those. He's definitely a killer, be killed guy. I mean, he was finished in 3 of his losses, and then he's got finishes in 4 of his 6 wins. So, I mean, he's really explosive, and he's got that guillotine that is putting away anybody and everybody. And it's his way to keep the fight on the feet. And I think it's a real key in this fight. I also really like this fight, Dave.
I think Simon wins this one, though.
Okay, so you just see it, you see kind of rinse, repeat, takedown,
yeah, rinse
all day. Ricky Simon. Yeah, and Ricky really looked sharp in his last matchup. I don't know if we were able to see that, but physicality wise, that dude was bodied up to a level I've never seen before. And Ricky's good. And yeah, he's a guy who was off for over a year and looked really good. So again, like these guys who are taking off this amount of time, they're continuing to look really sharp.
Well, they also come back where people are studying a fight that's a year old, so they've learned new techniques, new implement like things they can use in a fight. And
yeah, I mean,
used to that. Well, they fight aren't used to it.
Yeah, and I just wonder if, as I look at this trend of guys taking off a lot of time, if it's the same with these veteran fighters as it is with these younger up-and-coming fighters like yourself, like the Ricky Simones of the world, who really are, this is their whole life. I wonder if we're seeing the same thing when a Shogun comes in after a year and a half off or something. For example, not saying specifically Shogun, but you know what I'm saying? Like the guys who are a little more established, a little more comfortable, maybe that time off doesn't help them as much as another. But most, I think, fighters who are in the UFC, they're in it all the way. So I think for the most part, maybe I've been looking into that the wrong way. So, and then Dave has a question, then we'll move on with this breakdown. But have you ever watched yourself a year ago and game planned against yourself?
I've never done that, but I do watch my fights from time to time, and I noticed how much, like, I'm watching the same fight. I did that fight. I've been in there. I've relived it, and now I'm watching it and saying, wow, right here, I could have done this, could have done that. I would have won the fight right there. So I can see the changes in how I've progressed as an athlete. Yeah.
I mean, I not at all comparing. That was a great answer and a great question. I agree, Eddie. I don't want to compare myself as a podcaster to a fighter at all, but I do listen to my podcast because I try to get better as listening to myself, and I've learned to like listen to my voice. So I think it makes sense for fighters. You got some fighters hate to watch themselves, I've heard, but it's like you kind of got to force yourself to. It's like reading out loud as opposed to reading your paper in your head. You're going to fix all these mistakes as you look at it, but when you see it right in front of you, it's a little different. But I got Ricky Simone as well in this one. I don't have the balls to go with the triple dog, the start for one. I do think this price is a little bit crazy, so it's really hard for me to recommend Ricky as a bet here, or even like a main parlay piece, just because it's a little too high for my liking. Ricky Simone's a minus 260 favorite. So you're going to have to put, he's 2.5 to 1 favorite over Brian Kelleher. And it's just, Kelleher looked really good against Ray Rodriguez, and Simone looked really good against Gaetano, whatever his last name was. But I mean, a guy who, so they're both definitely stepping up in the competition here. They're both not cutting weight. So I think it's going to be a really high paced, entertaining affair. I think if Kelleher can turn Simone into a, kickboxer in this fight, Simone was deaded by Uriah Faber. And it's really hard for me to get that KO out of my head of Uriah Faber connecting on Ricky, because Brian can really, really connect and really hit hard. I mean, he's one of the hardest hitters at bantamweight. They're fighting at 145 here, but I just think that means they're not going to cut. But I got to go Ricky Simone to really take kind of a similar approach that Stamen took against Kelleher. They're really similar types of wrestlers and fighters in general. And I think if Simone can get a finish here, it would be very, very impressive, though. I think that although Kelleher's been finished a lot, that's the part of Simone's game that I think really takes him to the next level. If he starts to show that more of the killer instinct in there and going for the finishes like he did against Gaetano. When he got that arm triangle against Gaetano, he used that physique, he used that technique, and it was done. And that was just a beautiful thing. And you take care of your hand here as we go on to the next fight. You know, if you need anything, you need take a break, whatever, don't worry about it. But the next fight is a catchweight 140. And it's between Andre Ewell and Chris Gutierrez. I like both these fighters. I really like this fight. I really like this fight too. Eddie's going with Kelleher, by the way. So more power to you, Eddie. Go ahead and do Jillian, Rowe, and Kelleher and make a plus 1,000 parlay out of 3 fights. If you really feeling saucy, Eddie. And we'll get to this question at the end. We'll get to this question at the end here, but just keep this in mind for our boy Grant here. If you got $100 to bet on one fight, which one would it be and who would it be on? So we'll just keep that in mind. We'll do that at the end here, kind of our $1,000 bet of the night. But Andre Ewell versus Chris Gutierrez. These are 2 really good strikers, very different strikers. Gutierrez, leg kick city, all about the leg kicks. Some of the best leg kicks, I think, in the game. We got to see against Vince Morales firsthand, where for 2 rounds, Vince Morales stood right at kicking range and got destroyed by those leg kicks.
Absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, and it's just like, if you're going to fight at that range against Gutierrez in this weight class, I don't know many guys who he's not going to beat. But there's the thing about Ewell is that he just hasn't quite been able to show the Mr. Highlight he was before his UFC run. He's put together some decent fights. He's had some gas issues a couple of times, which, you know, will happen. It's really just he almost has put it together in a couple. He's coming off a couple split decision wins, though, against Jonathan Martinez and then against Erwin Rivera. And Erwin Rivera, he had like a 10-inch reach advantage, and he just was not using it. He really wasn't, and he has a wide karate stance that really puts – I think that front leg is going to be there to be kicked by Gutierrez. And Ewell is more of a boxer. And so it's just, you know, Ewell's going to have to turn into an MMA fighter in this fight and get takedowns, for some scrambles. He's got a really good Darce choke that he was getting fighters with before getting into the UFC. You know, but again, it's just those tricks haven't quite worked in the UFC. So I'm really back and forth on this fight. Gutierrez, I think, should be able to pull this one out, though. But
I think Gutierrez is going to win.
You got Gutierrez?
I think I have Gutierrez.
Yeah, and I just think that, I think Ewell's going to try to keep this a striking affair and use his reach. And by using his reach, he's going to be staying in that kicking range. And I think the leg's going to get beat up. And then by the time the leg's beat up, then he's going to be shooting for takedowns. And I don't think that the takedowns will be effective by that point because of the leg damage. This is leg kicks, calf kicks. I mean, he's just going to be kicking every part of the leg. And it's going to be in that quiet octagon. You're going to be hearing the slaps that I don't know how that doesn't kind of get into your head a little bit. And the judges are going to be also noticing that. I think Gutierrez is just a sharper striker. And I just don't think I just think that Ewell is not going to be able to piece together that overall. Ewell's going to need multiple takedowns to win this fight. And I just can't quite get on board with that. So I'm going to go with Chris Gutierrez. I'm going to go with a decision here. I think this is going to be a good fight. I think Ewell will get his shots in. Don't get me wrong. I really made this sound like it was going to be a landslide for Chris Gutierrez. And I didn't mean to do so, but I really respect his game a lot. And, you know, of course, he, you know, has a win over my boy, Jimmy the Brick Flick, who I talked to on Tuesday. So I got to talk firsthand about those leg kicks with Jimmy off camera a little bit. And his description of the description of those leg kicks is just it's horrifying. Like, I've never been kicked in the leg once, and so maybe by like my friend, and like I talked about it for like an hour afterwards. I was like, oh man, my leg, my shin. Like, I bumped my shin on my bed before. That's painful. So I'm sure like a killer leg kick.
More.
Yeah, more. But yeah, man. And Gutierrez, he's a -150 favorite, so really reasonable odds here. I think Gutierrez, who really I think can control the distance, and but yeah, I think it would be a good fight, and I like that it's at 140. Both guys will have a little extra gas. Next fight, we'll keep this one brief. You're busy, I'm busy, we're all busy. For whatever reason, they decided to put this fight this high on the card. It's a strawweight fight between Mallory Martin and Polyana Viana. Polyana Viana came into the UFC with a lot of hype as this kind of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu no-gi champion and whatnot. I didn't quite see it. I mean, she came in and she beat Stevenson, Jeremy Stevenson's. Jeremy Stevenson's wife. Is it Jeremy Stevenson? Was that the guy back in the day? He fought BJ Penn, got all bloodied up against BJ Penn. Jeremy Stevenson's, I think, was the guy, old school UFC guy. Anyways, Polyana beat his wife in her debut, then lost to JJ Aldrich, lost to Hannah Cyphers, and then got finished in the first round with Veronica Macedo. Somehow kept her job, and very lucky to keep her job off those 3 losses, to be honest with you. And then Emily Whitmire, she ended up finishing by first round armbar. Most of her wins are coming in the first round. She, in fact, has 1 win where she's gotten out of the first round. When she's gotten out of the first round, she's lost every other time. So that's definitely a really, really tough one. And Mallory Martin, she came in and she had a really tough debut against Verona Jandiroba, who is a super duper strong wrestler, kind of has a hat like you, actually. Do you know Verna at all? She's got Verna Jandiroba. She's a strawweight. She kind of rocks the bucket hat for some of her weigh-ins too. So, you guys can maybe trade, fashion at some point. But anyways, that was Mallory Martin's debut. Really strong grappler. And she had trouble. Then she came in against Hannah Cyphers. Mallory was getting a little pieced up in round 1 against Hannah Cyphers. Who, Hannah Cyphers is a really good striker. Don't get me wrong. But then second round, Mallory was able to use her wrestling and get the finish by rear naked choke. Overall, that's what I see happening in this fight. I see wrestling. Not sure if it's necessarily a finish or not, but I guess Dave talked to Felicia Spence earlier this week, and she really likes Mallory in this fight. She has a little phenomenal fighter segment with Dave on Fight Bananas, and Mallory was her phenomenal fighter for this upcoming week. So,
I think Mallory has this one.
I mean, I think Mallory has this all day, and I think this is a great matchup for her. I think it's her easiest matchup so far in her 3 fights in the UFC. So I think that's always interesting why they'd want to do that. But yeah, Mallory is only a -150 favorite. Again, this is a really good price here. As a bettor, these are the kind of fights I zero in on. I'd love to pair up Mallory with Chris Gutierrez for an easy plus money parlay right there. 2 -150s will get you plus 200. Also, Dave mentions the opening 4 here of a Savage Row Ricky Simone Chris parlay that gets you plus 2640. People, that means that $10 will win you $260. That means $100 will win you $2,640 on that bet of those 4. So these are just easy ways to, there's value on cards like this when you can find these -150s, where I think Mallory after the first round will shoot up live betting to a -300. I think that Viana's only chance is getting an armbar or something from the back. And it's just like, it's hard to bet on that. And I respect Mallory. Mallory's really gone around and gotten better. She's gone to a lot of good camps. She's been at AKA. She's been at a few other places. And I think she's legit. She's been getting ready with Cynthia Calvillo as well. So that's always a good girl to get ready with. And yeah, I think Mallory shows out here in -150. That's a beautiful, beautiful price. I think her and Gutierrez are really close to steals at minus 150. All right, back to, I think, some more competitive matchups, although this one, not sure this will be too competitive. It's at welterweight between Bilal, remember the name, Muhammad, and Diego Lima. Yeah, go ahead and take it away with this. Your thoughts on this matchup in both guys.
I think I'm going to have to go with Muhammad on this one. Only because I've seen him beat Lyman Good by unanimous decision. And I think that I don't think Lima is better than Lyman Good.
Yeah, and it's a lot of the same type of threats as well. You got the really powerful striker who, I mean, Bilal was able to get on the inside of a guy in Lyman Good where he wants to fight the fight inside and take away the power and get him down to the ground. Bilal's wrestling, his grappling overall has been really impressive. He's really found himself in the UFC. He came in and went right to the Wolves, man, too. He went right to Alan Jouban when Alan Jouban was on fire back in the day as a welterweight, kind of contender, early on. I mean, he's been in there with Vicente Luque. He's been in there with Randy Brown, Jeff Neal. Like, he's been in there with a ton of guys. Really looked good against Takashi Saito in the fight before that as well. And Saito really is, I think, a really underrated, dangerous guy. We saw what he did to Jason Witt, putting him away with that right hand. I mean, that right hand was an absolute missile.
First round, yeah.
Yeah, first round. And we saw how good Jason Witt is, too. I'm looking forward to seeing Vanilla Gorilla back in there, too. But he looks really, really strong. And Diego Lima, though, 3-fight winning streak he's been on lately. I mean, it's not been the craziest of competition, and that's where I really hold off on it. Chad Laprise, he put away by KO. That's good. A split decision against Court McGee. That's, it's fine. And then a split decision against Luke Jumo. That's not great. Luke Jumo is not the highest quality of opponent there and hasn't faced the competition. So I'm a little bit confused. A couple split decisions. He's been off for a year and a half, though. So another guy who is at ATT, obviously training with his brother and many other, I mean, Diego Lima's good. So I just I think this is a interesting fight, but I think at the end of the day, it's Bilal Muhammad all day. He should be able to, as long as he doesn't stay within striking range where it's like really in the first round, I think is where Diego really has his chance to finish. I think it's a decision for Bilal all day here. And Bilal, he's a minus 450 favorite. So this is where we get one of the biggest favorites on the card. Yeah. And I mean, but yeah, Diego's a plus 325. I mean, if you're feeling it, Diego, but I don't think Bilal lets this one go. I think that it's just one of these where the odds are a little out of hand, so it's hard to really put too much of an investment into that because you hate to put an investment and then have a minus 450 crack all your parlays when it doesn't even add that much to them value-wise. But, I mean, he's one of the biggest favorites on the card. If not, I think he is the largest favorite on the card. So Bilal Muhammad over Diego Lima. I think it makes sense, though. Bilal is really in his groove lately, and he should be able to put this one away. It'd be a pretty big upset otherwise. So we will move on now. We're in the featured prelim of the night. This is a featured prelim. I'll be candid with you. This is a featured prelim for one of the fighters. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez has had a rough go of it. He had his contender series win overturned because of marijuana, which is ridiculous. But then he was put away. He was put away pretty roughly by Kevin Holland. He was also put away by an anaconda choke by Marcus Perez. And then but what are your thoughts on? Are you familiar with Rodolfo Vieira?
Yeah, I train with him. I have.
Beautiful. Take it away.
He has the hardest head and arm triangle, the tightest head and arm triangle I've ever felt in my life. Pressure.
How fast does he put guys out? Is it like gone in 3? Is it like 3 seconds?
It's like 3 seconds.
Jesus.
It's very technical. What is he, like 5-time world champ?
5 or 6. I mean, he's one of the most accredited Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners ever to step foot in the octagon. Yeah.
And what's crazy is that people think he's just a grappler, but that man hits a jab like no other. It's incredible. His jab is beautiful.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt, but Eddie has an important message. I agree with this. I was looking for you on the game the other day. Dana needs to put you in the UFC 4 game. Like, I think once you win fight of the month, you automatically get in the game. Like, the people want to play with Mike Beast Boy Davis and create. We want to create a Tyson Gifford and recreate that fight.
Message Malky on Instagram or something and tell him to speak to Dana and them to get me in the game.
Done. Malky follows me on Twitter. I'll message him as well.
I'll buy the game once they put me in it. I have refused to buy it because I'm not in the game.
Yeah, I have a list. I have a list of fighters. Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. I want you in the game. The people want you in the game. Like you are a video game fighter come to life when you're in there, man. It's just like you're doing like everything. I feel like I'm watching a UFC 4 game with how you throw. So it's like, yeah, and we're all definitely gonna be messaging you right now. So we got you.
It's time. I'm signing my second contract. It's time to put me in the game.
I love the support for Beast Boy here. This is what we do here with Fight Bananas. We love you. Yeah, Rodolfo for the W. I agree. This is the Fight Pass or the ESPN Plus featured prelim for a reason, and it's not Anthony Hernandez. It is because of Rodolfo Vieira. I think this is a matchup where Anthony Hernandez likes to scramble and things like that, and you're not going to be able to scramble against Rodolfo Vieira. Yeah, I just think kickboxing wise, I think that and Dave just had lunch with Malky, so lovely.
Me in the game.
Yeah, you didn't mention that at lunch. Taco Bell in Lakeland, free plug, or Taco Bus in Lakeland. I was gonna say Taco Bell, damn Malky. I was like stepping up a little bit. Taco Bus, excellent in Lakeland, free plug. We are not sponsored by them. I don't know if they know. And then there we go. A few more. Eddie getting in there. He's saying next contract, hire him as the personal photographer. Beast Boy Diaries. Send his number to Malky. So everybody's shooting their shot on Mike while he's on. You know what? He's a wanted man now, man. You put on banger after banger, all of a sudden everybody's your best friend, right? You're finding high school. It's like old girlfriends are coming out. We're all kidding here, of course, Eddie. But yeah, Rodolfo all day here. Rodolfo by submission, I think is the play. Rodolfo is less of a favorite than Bilal Muhammad against Diego Lima. It's a minus 400, so it's still big.
I don't see that fight coming out of the first round. I really don't.
Yeah, I really don't either.
Fighter, he's gonna finish it.
Yeah, and then Jay's got a message for you, my boy Mike, upstate New York. Been with Mike since the beginning, so proud of you, brother. Jay Alpha with the message there. Love all the support here. We'll get to it as we go.
We got the first MMA gym I ever trained at, like solid, actual named MMA gym.
Yeah, I love it. I love how the people who were with you at the beginning, they stick with you, man. And you definitely know everybody here at Fight Bananas. We all got your back too. So now we are going to move on. We're on to the main card. We're on to the pay-per-view. Obviously, this pay-per-view's had a few hits to it. So definitely has been reordered a little bit. We missed out on Pedro Munoz versus Jimmy Rivera. We missed out on Chris Weidman versus Uriah Hall. Both really good matchups there. But, the UFC goes on, and the fights aren't fought on paper. They're fought in the octagon. And so I'm excited, as I am for any main card, honestly. I'm excited for the prelims. I'm excited. Fights are fights for me, man. I'm going to be – and by the way, cheap little plug, but I will be breaking down both the LFA and Titan FC cards for tomorrow morning at probably like 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm literally just going to do both of them back to back. I'm going to do the LFA card, and then I'm going to do the Titan FC card, cover all those fights, got odds on them, do my best to do some tape study tonight because I'm obsessed and because I'm a degenerate and gambling on fights is my shit. So I'm going to be here tomorrow morning doing that as well. But onto the main card. The opener, Julian, the Cuban Missile Crisis Marquez, solid nickname, versus Maki Coconut Bombs Pitolo. And I'm not sure. Do you have any familiarity with either of these guys?
I know Marquez. I don't
Okay.
think I know Patolo.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little breakdown on just overall. Both guys are Contender Series alum, so shout out to Contender Series. We love finds the talent. Smokey, he goes in there and he likes to use those coconut bombs. He doesn't exactly have a ton of wrestling, ton of MMA overall, but he likes to throw bombs, and he got into the UFC by hitting his opponent with a bunch of left hooks to the body, and then his opponent just wilted to him. So it's kind of a weird way to get into the UFC. He's been 1-3 in the UFC though, so this is definitely winner pack your bag type of fight for Maki.
Really?
Yeah.
He is 1-3.
Yeah, and his only win was over Charles Bird, who's now retired. He has a loss to Callan Potter, Callan Potter, I don't know if you're familiar with Callan Potter, but he's just like a grappling veteran from Australia who was able to piece him up on the feet. It was really not a good look for Patolo. He moved up to 185, where he still had trouble and missed weight at 185, previously being a welterweight. So maybe there's some camp issues or some nutrition issues. We're not exactly sure, but either way, Marquez has been off for 3 years, and coming off a split decision loss 3 years ago to Alessio Di Chirico. Very good fighter, but definitely had some cardio issues then, and I had a pretty bad back issue where he said he was unable to do cardio for nearly a year. And so that's a little bit of a concern. He has been able to come back. He was supposed to fight back in November, and then his opponent missed weight really badly, so he wasn't able to fight. But he had cut weight, was ready to go, and now he's had to wait another 3 months for this opportunity against Maki Patolo. It most likely is going to be kind of a back and forth stand-up war, I would think. Marquez is the better fighter.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Marquez on this one.
Yeah, Marquez is the better fighter. It's just the X factor of 3 years off, the injuries, and everything else. But I've got to assume that he's been putting in a lot of the work. He's, from what he's showing on Instagram, he's in really good shape. I know that's only so much you can tell, but he does seem to want to be in there. He seemed to have been focused on getting better. He doesn't seem to have a lot of outside distractions going on. And he's only 30 years old still. So, there's still plenty of time left for that potential. I got Marquez as well. And I got Marquez. I think it's going to be a finish one way or the other inside of 2 rounds. I think they're really going to go at it. Both guys have had gas issues. I think both guys don't want to stick around and find out if they got the gas in the 3rd round.
1-3. It's not looking very good.
Yeah, and 1-3, not against the craziest of competition, either, with all due respect. Anybody in the UFC is good. Don't get me wrong, but he's off to the UFC, so there's levels, and there's a spectrum. And Marquez is only a -170. So right here off the bat, I'm going to tell you, I like Marquez with Martin and with Chris Gutierrez. That is going to get you really solid positive money. Those are 3 guys who are close to even money already. Put them together, that's a +400, +500 minimum. And I think all of them are much better than their odds are saying. So if Patolo comes in there and gets the finish, then we get to see more coconut bombs. I won't complain about that. He's really entertaining, both inside and outside the octagon. It's just the overall skill. I'm not sure it will be there. And Marquez was looking good before his injury. He's been at Syndicate. Now he's at Glory MMA with James Krause. Glory MMA is on fire right now. Absolute fire. They're one of the hottest camps, I think, in the game right now. And so I think Marquez is ready. -170, lovely price. So we'll move on here to the 155 division. We got 2 veterans. I won't quite say legends of the sport. Miller, I think, is close to a legend, though. And then, I'd say an underground legend in Bobby Green. Never getting the love he deserves, in my opinion. I really am a big fan of Bobby Green. What are your thoughts on this matchup at lightweight?
I would have to really dive back into them, watching them fight. I have seen Jim Miller fight. I've seen him armbar Roosevelt.
Roosevelt Roberts.
So decent grappling, definitely, because I don't think Roosevelt has bad grappling at all. I think Roosevelt's pretty good.
Yeah.
And he beat Clay Guida. I remember that.
Yep.
So I think
he submitted Clay Guida in a minute.
Yeah, and Clay Guida is a scrapper. He is one hell of a fighter.
I mean, we just saw what he did against Michael Johnson last weekend as a big underdog.
Oh my God, yeah. So honestly, I think I'm gonna have to go with Jim Miller on this fight.
Oh, okay.
I don't know Bobby Green that well.
Okay.
I think I've watched him fight one time, and he did pretty good. But I think I'm gonna go with Jim Miller.
All right. So we got our first disagreement here of the night, sir.
There's two now.
I got our second. Yeah, our second. No, you converted me over to Phil Rowe. You converted me, but I definitely did not have Phil Rowe before I talked with you, man. Like I was going back and forth though on that one. It was one where I was like, if I hear some good information here, and I got good information there. I think on Rowe, I really trust the training in December with Phil Rowe information.
Yeah, it was back in December. It was not very long ago.
I love that.
Good.
I absolutely love it, and that it's just like between you and Bob Ross, the amount of information and experience I've gotten on everybody on these cards. You're both like, oh yeah, I've trained with him, I've fought with him, I've done with just like you guys are built different. It's one thing I really respect about both you and Mr. Bob. Who's fighting next week. We'll be breaking down his card.
Nice, awesome.
Cannot wait to break that fight down. Bobby Green, though, he's crafty, man. He likes to fight with that shoulder roll style, with the boxing. He's got
Philly shell or something.
Yeah, he's got the Philly shell style. He's got really underrated jiu-jitsu just because he kind of likes to carry himself with the swagger, like he doesn't really train, like he's a street fighter sometimes, like he likes to talk shit, but he's got a purple belt in jiu-jitsu and a really legitimate purple belt. He's never been submitted. So that is definitely one thing I like to take a look at right away. He's a good wrestler as well. He's coming off a really tough decision over Thiago Moises. Thiago Moises is a fantastic grappler.
He's super good.
It's super good and getting,
very good.
So much better. He's getting so much better too. I liked him before he got in the UFC, but now he's starting to really piece it together after those couple of losses early on. And so no shame in that from Bobby Green. And I do think going from Thiago Moises to Jim Miller is obviously different, but there's a lot of similarities in the preparation there, I think, for Bobby Green. And I do think that Moises at this point in his career is much better than Jim Miller was. So I think that Bobby Green is just on a little bit too much of a roll, even though he lost his last fight 3 of 4 here. And I think he knows how to beat Jim Miller in this fight. I just think it's kind of towards the end for Jim Miller a little bit here. And Bobby Green still has Bobby Green's also a veteran, but just has, I think, a lot more left on the treads here. But Eddie's with you, man, probably because he's trying to become your personal photographer. But,
Jim Miller in the UFC is a long time coming, so.
Yeah, man. They both have been in the UFC a long time, double-digit UFC experience for both. Here's where it gets nuts for me. Bobby Green is a minus 265 favorite. Like, you could get Jim Miller for plus 200, plus 205. Yeah. That is a lovely dog. If you're trusting the dog here, man, my advice here in the betting game, you'll hear this all the time, dog or pass. What that means is you're either betting on the dog or you're leaving this one alone. Because you do not want to lose your money on a minus 265 on Bobby Green, who fights everybody and their mother close. I mean, you are sweating Bobby Green decisions every time. If you go on to Fight Pass and watch Bobby Green fights, you're going to be watching him for a while because there's a lot of decisions there, and they're all close. So when you're betting on him, it gets sweaty, very sweaty. And so, but he's a really good fighter here. I do have him as my official pick, but he's going to be in one, maybe no parlays for me because I don't want to lose my money on mine. Those odds are out of line, I think, here. And I think that Jim Miller is just being a little bit too buried here, even though I did say I think he may be towards the end of his career. The way he lost to Vince Pichel in his last fight was Vince Rochelle used a lot of top-heavy control and laid on him basically for 2 or 3 rounds. And that's just not how Green's going to win this fight. Eddie has a sub. I mean, Miller can sub anybody. But again, I mean, Green's sub defense is really good, and I do kind of feel that for Miller, it's sub or bust. I think Green wins a decision. So it's kind of it's not the puncher's chance here; it's the choker's chance here. But he's done it to a lot of guys. So yeah, that's we got another disagreement here. So it happens. We're still friends. We're gonna survive here. We're gonna get through this. Third from the top here, Mike, and then we'll get out of here, and you'll be done with your first official breakdown with me. And thank you again for being on, man. I really appreciate it. The insight's been excellent, and hopefully you guys out there, you're listening to this. This is the edge that I'm looking to bring to this breakdown. There's a dime a dozen breakdowns on YouTube at this point. I want to talk with some people who've walked the walk here, get some insight, and I also put in the work myself. I put in as much tape as I can every week. I'm obsessed with this, but I try to get the extra edges everywhere I can. I want to be the best at this. I don't want to just be good at it. So we're at third from the top here. Really good middleweight fight, really important middleweight fight, crossroads middleweight fight, all of the above cliches of fight breakdowns. Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch. I love this matchup. I think this is a really good fight. Where is Kelvin Gastelum at? That is the question. 3 straight losses, although to Israel Adesanya, Darren Till, and Jack Hermanson.
So those are like 3 legit losses. They're not just anybody.
It's just how he's losing a couple of these that's really, really hard for me. Adesanya was going 2-2 into the 5th round. I have no problems with that.
Oh, yeah.
Adesanya got a 10-8 5th round, but Kelvin was going for it, man. He was kill or be killed in that 5th round, and he still didn't get killed. Like, he went to a decision, but Adesanya really laid it on that 5th also. But Adesanya,
if he fought better in that fight, he would have won.
He could have been champion, man. He would
have won if he.
So my question here with that, my question with that is, how does that affect you when maybe your best performance ever is in a loss like that? Like, that's my question, because it seems that it's taken a little bit of an edge away from him. The Darren Till fight that followed, he was completely gun shy for 5 rounds. Darren Till really didn't do that much to win the fight.
That's really
it was there, but Kelvin was just something was missing from Kelvin. And then we go into the Hermanson fight, and he gets heel hooked in a minute and gets up and kind of smile, like laughs about it. He's like, I lost the fight. He's like, I just wasn't there tonight. Like,
maybe his drive is gone.
I don't know.
It's really going to depend, because this is going to be 4 in a row if he loses, and that doesn't look very good.
I mean, he might be getting ready to be a Bellator middleweight contender if he loses this fight. It's like there's the meme going around right now of a particular fighter where it says you're 1 loss away from a Bellator title fight. And I won't say who the fighter is because I'm going to play respect. But if you're with the meme game, which I know you are, Mike, you might know who I'm talking about. Otherwise, I'll send you it later. But
I think I missed
that's how these pink slip losses are being viewed in some ways now. It's like you're 1 loss away from a Bellator title shot, and Kelvin may for real be a 1 loss away from a Bellator title shot if he loses here. And Ian Heinisch is no joke, man. Ian Heinisch has been going all over the place now at this point. He's going to Thailand to improve his stand-up, getting Bangkok ready, going over to Tiger Muay Thai. As a wrestler, I love that move, which is what Ian Heinisch is. Then he's come over here. He's been at Factory X. He's been kind of all over the place. And I mean, yeah, he's a big guy. He's fought at light heavyweight. He's one of the biggest middleweights for sure in the division. He hits hard. Put away Gerald Mearshart in a minute, and really did look good in that. And he had a couple tough losses to, I think, guys who he wasn't quite ready for in Maria Akhmedov and Derek Brunson. And I think that he lost 2 decisions to those guys. We know how good Derek Brunson's been lately. We saw how he was against Edmund Shavazian. Cisco Derek Brunson is just, a different Derek Brunson, man. He's got that bleach blonde, and he's fighting different, man. I love it. But yeah, I think this is a really, really good matchup, and I think closer than the odds think it is. what are your thoughts on this fight?
I've trained with Gastelum before, many years ago, and I think that he has better boxing than people think, or that he's shown.
And
it really depends, because like you said, Kelvin can show up and lose and smile about it, or he can show up and grind like he did against Adesanya, sorry, and really fight, like really come to fight.
Yeah.
If he comes to fight, I think he'll win. If he just comes for like a paycheck or whatever it was his last fight, then I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like Kelvin Gastelum. It's been a while since we've seen. I mean, it's basically been since he beat Michael Bisping that we really.
Yeah, there's no fire in him.
I mean, he had a split decision over Jacare, leading into before the Adesanya fight, and it's just I mean, and when you really go back and you look at how kind of Kelvin Gastelum's built his legacy at middleweight, it's a win over an inflated Johnny Hendricks at the end of his UFC run, which you remember how good he was towards the end, especially middleweight. It was rough. Then he went and got knocked out by Dakota Cochran in bare knuckle fighting. Then he beat Tim Kennedy. That was probably his strongest win. He beat Vitor Belfort, who was being tested by USADA every other day, and definitely at the end of his UFC rope. Then lost to Chris Weidman quickly, then beat Bisping, and then split decision over Souza, and then these 3 losses. And then Heinisch, he also, when he's taken that next step up against Akhmedov and Brunson, has struggled. And the guys he's beat are guys like Shoeface, guys like Mearshart. So it's just like, which I rate Gastelum as better than both those guys by quite a bit. So it's really, really tough here. I'm actually going to go with Gastelum. I think this is the kind of matchup where he can really take advantage of his speed. I think it's one of the best advantages of Gastelum's game. And I think his cardio for 3 rounds should be significantly better than Ian Heinisch's. That's Ian Heinisch. Ian Heinisch is a grinder, but he is a grinder who slows down, I think. And yeah, we got Steven also on the Mexican Heat. I agree. Great points. Hopefully, Dave's talking about me, but I don't know. Probably talking about both of us because we are making great points here. But yeah, I do think that this is Kelvin Gastelum getting back on track here. I do think he wants to be a UFC fighter, and I think that if he doesn't show up here, he's gone. So yeah, he's just faster.
I can play it too because I felt slight pressure coming into my last fight, and it definitely made me want to fight harder.
Okay, yeah, I mean, and you were fighting through so much in that fight too. There were plenty of spots for both you and Mason. I mean, I have nothing but respect. I know I called him Miles Jones or whatever earlier, but seriously, I can't wait to see both of you guys back in there. And yeah, when you fought through, I mean, these extra insights are really huge, and it was important for you. You were and Kelvin's in a similar situation on a bigger stage here, and I think that he can use his wrestling offensively also against Heinisch, and really his timing on his shots is really outstanding when he uses it.
Yeah, he needs to use his wrestling.
He needs to use it here. If he gets on top of Heinisch has trouble off his back. He's a big guy used to dominating, and if I think it's the speed and timing. I like a decision win for Kelvin. The odds here for Kelvin are -230, plus 180 for Heinisch. So if you're feeling Heinisch, you got good odds here. I think the odds are about right, though. I think that Kelvin really is about a 2-1 favorite. In spite of the struggles, I think the struggles are against all individuals who are significantly better than Ian Heinisch, with all due respect. But if Ian Heinisch gets this win, what a huge win for him. And he is in a different echelon of fighter after that. And, so if he does, I mean, shout out to him. I mean, he's had quite the story coming from Rikers. I mean, he's made some mistakes in his, past. And it's like he's fought back from that and really come to now where he's traveling over to, Thailand. He's he's Bangkok ready, and he's a wrestler too. So it's like we might have a stand-up war here.
No, I don't think Kelvin should engage in that now.
Yeah, I think that Kelvin, I think that Kelvin would be smart to mix it up, though. I agree. I think the stand-up war makes this fight a lot closer than it needs to be if he does that. But
Yep.
I like Kelvin here. We're both on Kelvin. We'll stay at the 2 disagreements for now, and we're moving on to the co-main event of the evening. And this is the co-main event just because they had to get something in there eventually. But we've settled on Macy Barber. She's back, and we've all heard her all week talking about she's got her plan coming off her loss to Roxanne Modafferi. At 22 years old, she is going to win this fight against Alexa Grasso, call out JoJo Calderwood, who's ranked number 6, when I believe that Macy's maybe ranked 14th right now. So for some reason, she's going to call out JoJo Calderwood, who's in line for a title shot. JoJo Calderwood's going to accept. This is all according to Macy Barber. JoJo Calderwood's going to accept, and Macy's going to beat her and call out Valentina Shevchenko and beat Valentina Shevchenko before the end of the year. David, this better be sarcasm, but greatest female fighter of all time. I didn't remember bringing up Amanda. I didn't remember bringing up Amanda Nunes, but I must have said that without remembering it, because otherwise, greatest female fighter of the world was not discussed, David. Yeah, she's 8-1. So let's maybe pump the brakes a little bit before we're giving her a title shot against Valentina Shevchenko. She's going up against the 12-3 Alexa Grasso. I'll give you a little lowdown on Alexa Grasso in case you're not familiar.
I'm familiar with her, and I think
okay, yeah. So she's her
striker way better.
Very solid striker. And yeah, I think that this is a case where technically she is the much sharper striker. I think that Macy has a power advantage. But I just think that I think that Macy at this point, she's got to show me how she's looking off the injury. And also, Macy obviously, hasn't faced too many fighters up to the level of Alexa Grasso yet in her career, and particularly in the stand-up realm. So, she has a impressive finish over Jillian Robertson, but it was a fight that was stopped, on the feet, and it was stopped in the first round. So I'm not really, sure how much to take out of that. And that was, 2+ years ago. And then she gets outlanded by Roxanne Modafferi.
That's
tough. I get her knee was hurt, but she's still out, it was still a stand-up, that got her, kind of dominated against Roxanne Modafferi. And so she's been off for a while. She's 22. We don't really know how good she is yet in her career. Alexa Grasso had a very solid win over Ji-Yoon Kim in her flyweight debut. She's fought at strawweight before that, but good boxing. I think a better overall MMA game than she gets credit for. But in this fight, she just needs to keep it on the feet, I think. I think if it's a stand-up fight, I think as long as she doesn't get caught with the power of Macy, I think she can outland in the volume, and the distance control of Grasso should be the difference. So I've been back and forth on this fight, but it's really hard for me to pick Macy with how she's presenting herself. And
yeah, I'm not a fan.
I'm not a fan. And I just think that, that she's – I can't roll with her here, man. I got to go with Grasso. Grasso is a slight favorite also, and I think there's a good reason for it. I think that rhythm matters in this fight. I think the level of competition matters overall, and I think that overall this game's about matchups, and Grasso has a significant advantage on the feet, and I'm not sure Macy's going to look to use her wrestling, and Grasso has had some good bouts to show her wrestling defense as well against Carla Esparza. She looked really good with the grappling as well. So I just can't roll with Macy. I don't think she deserves this. I don't think she deserves this fight spot either.
No.
And I think Grasso does more so. And I think that, that Macy looks a little less physical than before her knee injury. She looks a little smaller to me. And Grasso has continued to really fill into that flyweight body. She's really not missing those cuts to strawweight at this point. And I think that, I think I can't roll with Macy here. I got Grasso for multiple reasons. Physically and mentally, I think Grasso is ahead of Macy though. So I got Grasso. I got a decision because it is just, there's just a little bit of a power issue with Grasso, but technically she should be hitting Macy 3 times for every one that Macy gets her with. That's what I see.
Yeah. So, I don't see Macy Barber. She's not quick. She might be powerful, but honestly, when it comes down to that, speed generates power.
And technique.
And the technique, she's so super technical. Oh my God. So I think she's gonna piece her up.
Yeah, I think she has the best boxing in the flyweight division. Grasso. And that is saying something. There's a lot of killers at flyweight. Ji Yoon Kim was one of the girls who was competing for that best boxer spot, and Grasso pieced her up for 3 rounds, got that decision win. We got Dwayne DeWitt shouting out to Beast Boy Pride of Port Orange Ninja. I don't know what that means. Maybe you do, but it's all good. But either way, we're on to the main event of the evening for the welterweight title. We got Gil Burns. You're a little familiar with him versus Kamaru Usman. I would like you to take away your thoughts on this matchup and your prediction for how you see it going first.
Big one. This is the biggest one. Well, I have to put my money on Gilbert Burns. 2 reasons. One, I think I don't know who's the favorite for this one.
Usman is a significant favorite.
All right, well,
so you're getting paid on your bet. That's what you want when you got your dog, bro.
No,
you speak the truth. Dogs win constantly.
It's for a reason.
Yeah.
Gilbert Burns is underrated. That man is a workhorse. And he is training at the gym that they've been at for years together. So all the teammates that
I want you to go into that for sure. Talk to me about that.
All the teammates that Gilbert and Usman used to train with both know they're both each fighting style, and now Burns gets to use them to have them tell him like what Usman's good at. Everyone has experienced something Usman's done, so they're all putting it in Gilbert's ear, and he's being able to adjust to all this stuff. So he's gonna know a lot of what Usman does, and also he beat me. Which I have to give him that and it'll bring my stock up for him to win the belt. One of my only 2 losses ever is to the welterweight champion of the world. That's personal stock. That's one of the reasons.
Yes, sir. Yeah, speak your truth. We want absolute truth here. We want all that, and I don't blame you, man. I mean, like that. First of all, that stock just continues to look better and better.
It really does, yeah.
Talked with my boy Brian Pooh Bear Battle a few weeks ago, and he just fought for Hard Rock MMA. He's about to be UFC bound, I think, but he had defeated Impa Kasagane in his last amateur fight. He 10-8'd Impa in 2 of the 3 rounds, actually. And so before that Joaquin Buckley fight, Brian Battle just kept watching that and watching Impa. He's just like, yeah, baby, keep going, become a contender. Your defeats, you become the biggest fan of those people all of a sudden.
I'm telling you.
He's like, I don't want to see you crash and burn now, bro.
I think Burns wins the belt, and I think the same. Like if you go back to a random person who's fighting soon, Sadiq. I think that he climbs to the belt as well.
Yep. Yeah, dude. You fought like bad luck, the guys you lost to, but it's amazing luck also because like you're not Sadiq Youssef didn't turn into some guy. He's turned into one of the best guys in that division, and he is just like he's just so legit. And so you got Burns. How you see the fight? How you see the fight going? overall? What type of fight do you see this being? Like, do you see it being more striking, more grappling, more just mixed 5 rounds? Kind of what do you see with that?
I need Gilbert to mix it up. Usman does have good wrestling, but I need Gilbert to mix it up because Usman's faster with his hands, and I don't want to see my bet lose because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he needs to mix it up to slow Usman down.
But isn't that what Usman's going to be doing? Just to play devil's advocate. This is what makes
it's a hard fight. It's not easy.
This is what makes Usman so good. Is it's just like who he's fighting. He's like, oh, I need a little more striking here. Oh, I need a little more cardio here. Oh, I need a little more wrestling here. He's like taking the bars of the creative fighter in UFC 4, which is a game you don't have yet till you're in it. But when you're in it, I'll tell you, you create a fighter and you kind of drag the skill levels up, right? And you're like, oh, I want him to be more of a wrestler. Well, this is going to go down. It's like Kamaru Usman is doing that every fight. He's like, this is my new custom fighter. I'm going to be more of a this, more of a that, more like.
Oh, one more thing.
Yes.
I thought about. Since they train together,
yes,
they train together so much, one of them knows the other one's better. You have to. One of them knows the other one's better. So I'm curious to that. I'm curious to that.
Whoever knows. I mean, we had Burns earlier in the week. He was going, he knows. Here's a fight. This is Dave, by the way, saying this. But Savage Row Burns parlay. That's going to get you some major positive money right there. So, yeah, I'll give a little bit of my thought. So you got Burns and you got Finish. Let's hear. We got Finish.
I don't know if I have Finish.
Okay.
Well, he not get tired. He doesn't. So it's going to be a 5-round fight. The whole thing's going to be a fight.
And they're both such high-level guys, too. And even if they have been able to, even if maybe Burns has been able to submit him or whatnot, Usman's got to be aware of those setups and the strengths at this point, maybe a little bit more. And he's been training over at Elevation Fight Team with Gaethje and all that squad. We got Blades over there. We got all sorts. I mean, Elevation, another great fight. By the way, the 3-fight parlay that Dave threw in here is plus 1710 on Savage, Rowe, and Burns. So that could be, you got a couple of big parlays here that you're taking part in. So my thoughts on this fight. I have been so back and forth on this fight. I think this is an incredible fight. I think that Burns has definitely earned this title shot. And I think that Usman is definitely taking this title shot seriously. So I don't think there's a question of, is the champ resting on his laurels? Is he relaxing? I don't have any sort of those issues. I also don't think Gilbert Burns needs those in order to win a fight. I think Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu is so sick, and I think he can submit Kamaru Usman. I really do. I get closer and closer as this fight gets closer and closer to putting a straight-up bet on Gilbert Burns by submission to shoot those odds up, because it'd probably be close to a 500 or so odds on a Gilbert Burns submission. And I really do think – I get it. Usman's only loss in his career was by submission. I get it was very early on in his career. But Burns gives a lot of guys their first submission losses, or, in this case, second submission losses. I think his jiu-jitsu is up there with some of the best in the entire UFC, definitely in the division. He's got really good stand-up. What he showed me against Tyron Woodley was 5 complete rounds. That cardio was there. Yes. I think he wanted to go 5 rounds in that fight, and he did, and he looked fantastic doing it. I get that the blueprint's out on how to beat Tyron Woodley at this point, though. And so there is a little bit of that, and there's not a blueprint on how to beat Usman. I really like Burns, his comfortability with Usman. Usman's going to be comfortable with him as well, but I don't mean comfortable in like a way like he's going to be relaxing there, but just his ability to really let his stand-up flow, be able to use those hooks, be able to use his power, be able to affect Usman early on and then push the pace, get those takedowns later on. I think we could see a takedown in round 2, round 3 from Burns. And if we see that, this fight gets a whole lot different. Really, really interesting. I'm going to agree with you, man. I got Gil. I got Gil as the new welterweight champion of the world.
Hey,
I think that that would just have a beautiful ring to it. Taking a fight on 5 days' notice with a UFC fighter, would be a nice little, thing to mention along with, Sadiq Youssef. Sadiq, go ahead and get to a 45 belt, and then you can get to a 55 belt, and y'all can just start talking about crossover fights here in 2024. How about that? 2024, we start talking some 2023, we start talking some crossovers, avenging some losses, the revenge tour. With some belts on the line. Let's do it, man. But we're gonna agree here, man. I was on Burns initially, then switched over to Usman a little bit when I just really started to think he's just this power bar fighter, man. He's just like he no one will give Usman the credit he deserves, which is really the unfortunate thing if he loses before he retires. I think as soon as he loses, people are going to quickly forget how good he is. Just because this is how fickle MMA fans will be at points when a guy is just well-rounded, does a lot of things well, but it doesn't do the flashiness. Like they somehow GSP forever, people didn't give him credit. And Usman essentially fights like GSP, but with more power, which is just frightening. That's just a crazy fighter to draw up. So this is not an easy fight at all. I really do think that, this is going to be a war. I think it's a fight that could very easily be 2-2 going into the fifth and be winner of the fifth round wins the fight. So I think we've got a hell of a main event. Gilbert Burns deserves this. Gilbert Burns deserves way more respect than he gets. This is not a recent run. He's been building up to this. Gilbert Burns is, I believe, 34 as well. I don't want to be let me just check real quick, but I know Gilbert, he's 34, man. He's in the game. Yeah, he's still young, but he's also got that experience to give him this composure coming into this big event as a main event of a pay-per-view. That's the part where I really like it, and so I think this is a great fight. Kamaru, if he wins this, continues to cement his legacy and get better and better. But I'm going to go with Gilbert. I'm going to go with Gilbert for the submission for my official pick, which I know it could be really crazy sounding if we're revisiting this. But, hey, I don't hide from my picks. Put them all out here. And Gilbert is currently a plus 215 underdog. So straight up, you're getting them at a 2-1 price. I think that's lovely. And I think that if you're a big believer in Usman, minus 275 is a fantastic price on Usman too. So honestly, I know that I'm supposed to just sell my side and be like my side, I know, but you got to trust your read in this fight, in my opinion. My read is just a little edge towards Burns, the explosiveness and that overall just the comfortability. I think that's an X factor here. He looks really relaxed and ready this week. And so does Usman, frankly. So sometimes you just got a championship fight where both guys are ready. It's just the better fighter wins that night.
I just feel like they don't fear each other because they sparred each other for so much time. So it's really going to be a war.
Yeah. I think we're in for a real treat. Yeah. And I think
probably fight of the night.
Yeah, it's not often that you can predict the main event as the fight of the night. A lot of times it's like, oh man, because sometimes you get that fight of the night and there's just a little bit too much stress or it's too much on the line or whatever it is. But I think these two, they're going in there and they're like, we've done this before. We're doing it again here, just in front of millions of people. And they're both professionals. They're both 33, 34.
About that too, like when you know that you fought somebody or you sparred somebody, and now you're getting hit by them 100%, it's weird. It's some weird psychological thing, but you're not going to knock me out. You can hit me as hard as you want, but I feel like I've been hit with you so many times before. It's just not going to knock me out.
Yeah, I've been here before, literally. Yeah. I can't wait. And I love it when I have a main event as a hardcore fan to look forward to, because sometimes it's the fights early on that I'm the most excited about. And then I'm kind of excited for the main event, but it's not always. But it's and it's David is speaking absolute truth here. It's not gonna. We're not talking fight of the year like our boy Mike Davis versus Mason Jones, but they could show out almost as much, man. We can't ask for that though.
It's going to be fun.
That's different because you need two willing dance partners who are both absolute savages like you and Mason. And we'll see moving forward, but it's just like, I think this is a really, really this has been a great breakdown. I hope everybody's enjoyed it here. I hope you've enjoyed it, Mike. I've loved getting to talk to you, the insight you provided, the time you provided here tonight, and like leading up to this, asking me questions about matchups ahead of time and shit. Like, it's crazy. I really appreciate you putting it all into it, and you showed tonight, man. You showed out. I can't wait to have you back on and everything. Anything you'd like to plug before we take off here?
No, just watch the fights this weekend.
Hell yeah. Watch the fights. Mike will definitely join us at some point for a recap when he can stay up late. We'll get him some coffee and have him come on, or we'll wait till the
What time do you do the recaps? At the
right after the fights, man.
Oh,
So, yeah, trust me. I know. I always ask these fighters to come on, and they're all like, yo, I got my sleep schedule. Like, I'm like, Jillian, come on. She's like, I'm asleep by 8. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, we'll wait till yeah. So
for the main event.
Yeah, it's tough, but yeah, this was great, man, and thank you everybody for joining us. Mark with Mike's last fight had me on the edge of my seat, so happy to see him in the sport. Definitely. Everybody saying what up to Mikey.
What's up, David?
Yep. And Mike will definitely be back here. He's got a little bit of time to recover, so if you need a little bit of distraction, man, I'm here for you. Aaron the dog is here for you. Otherwise, we're always going to be in your corner, man. All the best. And obviously, Eddie, thank you. Mike, you'd see you on the online game. And
I'll jump back on gaming once I got a thumb.
Yeah, man. He can't. He's got a game like those crazy gamers right now.
So weird. I can't play at all.
Yeah, we'll get you the arcade stick or something. But Mark's saying see you in May. He'll be in Florida. Everybody get your goodbyes in here. But Aaron the dog and Mike Davis, we are out for the UFC 258 breakdown for the Fight Bananas breakdown show. Thank you again, Mike, for being on. I will be back tomorrow morning at let's say 9 a.m. I'll say 9 a.m. Yeah, I'll be back with an LFA Titan FC breakdown special. I'm going to be going through both cards. The odds are out. Bets are available. I went 6 of 7 on my LFA bets for the last LFA card, and all the money cash is the same as UFC money. So I get all my money from these 2 fight cards right here, use that to provide my bet money for the UFC. And I'm telling you, this is money to be made. Eddie knows what I'm talking about, man. And all these fights are available. They're available on Fight Pass. They're available on, ESPN Plus at this point. These aren't fights you got to go and search for. And these are all fighters that eventually are going to be on the big stage and a lot quicker with the Corona times than before. So either way, I'll be back tomorrow morning live on my own solo, trying to break down some fights. But until then, take care of yourself out there, everybody. Subscribe to Fight Bananas for all interviews. Mike, thank you so much. And peace out, everybody. Take care of yourselves out there.